Welcome to the Fresh Vending Podcast, where we discuss how smart vending machines are revolutionizing fresh food accessibility for both creators and consumers.
Hi there, and welcome to episode 17 of the Fresh Vending Podcast with your host, Isaac Wu, and I am Nathan Downs. And today we're going to talk a little bit about an exciting announcement that we have about the new product line we're putting out called the Provision Suite. And we're going to talk through it a little bit. In a nutshell, we've always been the best solution in the market for selling high volumes of fresh food out of our smart fridge. But now we're introducing a smart pantry and a smart freezer. But I think the better question is, Isaac, what was the big push? What were you hearing from customers that led us in this direction?
Yeah, I talk to operators every day, and um, a lot of them, while they love using our smart fridge to sell fresh food 24/7, a lot of them were kind of turning up the temperature on those fridges and putting in sundries like, I don't know, toiletry items or medicine or, cough syrup, things like that that the students would need in the dorms or, nurses or guests would need in the hospital. So we're thinking, a lot of people just want to sell ambient products. Maybe it's chips, for example. Hot Cheetos are super popular. So, okay, yeah, we took note of that. And then we started hearing a lot about operators. They wanted to sell ice cream, for that student, or maybe in manufacturing facilities, these food operators wanted to sell kind of frozen meals as well, or the employer wanted to sell frozen meals, and they were kind of using our fridge to slack out those frozen items, which worked really well. But we kind of took note of that as well, and then we kind of came back to the drawing board and said, hey, we have the largest shelf space in the market. We have a premium solution in a smart fridge. Let's just make the same level of food security, theft prevention, quality, but just make an ambient unit and a frozen unit on top of that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good kind of synopsis, and I was seeing the same thing. So Isaac manages all of the customer support for FoodSpot operators, and I work a lot with operators when they're kind of feeling out what's the best fit for them as far as a smart fridge platform. And one of the things that we started to see, we also go to a lot of trade shows and things like that in the industry that I think speaks broader to what Isaac was discussing on a granular level with our operators, was that there's a big hole in the American retail kind of marketplace that we're seeing. And on one side, you had things like Amazon Go. So if you're not familiar with their like just walk out technology, it's kind of like a mini convenience store. It's fully secure. You walk in, you usually like scan your phone, grab whatever you want, walk out, and it charges you for that. That was kind of on one end of the three-sided Venn diagram. The other end is traditional micro markets. So you can see in the bottom right there, and these are going to be kind of like a little 7-Eleven. It's salty, sweet, and shelf stable. Sometimes a lot of words like fresh are used along with it, but usually most everything is kind of junk food, for lack of a better way to put it. And in those environments, it would be like a corporate office or something where it's complete honor system. So little to no fresh food. You have to, check yourself out. So it wasn't necessarily something that could be secure and public facing like Amazon Just Walk Out. And then the third option was smart fridges. So like FoodSpot, what we're doing where we were focused on selling fresh food. And what we realized in the middle of these three concepts, there was this big hole because just walk out with Amazon. Last I knew, it probably takes about 700 square feet, maybe a couple $100,000 to get started. And once you commit your space to that, I mean, it's a long-term commitment. On the other side, the in the bottom right, the micro markets are, I mean, you could really just throw in a bunch of shelving and a couple regular refrigerators. It's relatively inexpensive to launch, but it's a big commitment of space for size. And like we said, there's nothing in there that's really tracking like food safety and expirations as people are stocking it. So for those reasons, they don't really do a lot of fresh, and then also it's not secure. So the feedback that we got was maybe we should be looking at having an ambient and a frozen food spot so that we'd be able to kind of fill this big gap in the marketplace that's kind of between these three concepts. And that's how the Provision Suite was born. And you can see it there. If you look in, you can see kind of on the left, there's, all sorts of different, products from, there's personal hygiene, shelf-stable food. Obviously, in the middle, we have, FoodSpot's kind of fresh-centric offering. And then on the right, the freezer also kind of affords a lot of new opportunities.
Yeah, so the opportunity was this where you can have the variety of products that a Just Walk Out has and a Micromarket has in the small footprint that's also modularly flexible of micro stores that are on wheels, 3x3 footprint, at least in our case. And you have that highest level of food safety. So you don't have to worry about, a $12, $13 sushi roll selling out of there and capturing the revenue because we have that RFID tracking and the expiration date. So um,
I could unpack that for a second, Isaac. For our listeners, if you're not familiar, so with FoodSpot, every product gets one of these little stickers that's on my finger, RFID, and there's a computer chip and antenna inside. And what that does is the computer chip is tracking both what is my inventory across all my stores, but it's also tracking expiration of those products. So whether it's that, sushi roll that Isaac mentioned that it could expire in 24 hours, or it's that, ice cream in a freezer that you don't want to get freezer burn, that it's only been in there for 3 weeks. So that's kind of really the game changer when we talk about security and traceability and filling that new kind of gap in American retail that we just talked about on the previous slide.
yeah, and if you're interested in kind of hearing about that food safety piece and the inventory tracking and RFID, we have a ton of previous episodes about that. And in this episode, we kind of want to talk through what are some of those applications for the ambient and frozen units. So, I mean, Nathan, you and I have brainstormed kind of ambient use cases before.
Yeah, I think the piece that I love is that we have our vision and our understanding and things and observations that we make, but so many times, like our operators come to us and they throw stuff out on the table, and we're like, didn't think of that. So one of the trends that I know is happening nationally, that's no surprise, is like mom and pop hardware stores are pretty much going out of business at a fast and furious rate. And that's either people are ordering stuff on Amazon to be delivered within, a day or two, or they're going to the big box store like the Lowe's and the Home Depot. So one of those applications was like, what if we made like a mini hardware store with the top 40, best-selling items, the light bulbs and the things like that you needed to access, from an ambient perspective. Out here in the Bay Area, I'm also seeing drugstores like CVS and Walgreens are starting to close up shop. It's pretty common, and I know it's not like that in the rest of the country, but regardless, if there's something that you want for like personal hygiene, there's many times when you're like, I want it immediately. And to be able to have that instantly, you don't have to drive out to the drugstore. You don't have to, wait a day or two to get it from Amazon. There's some interesting applications like that where the ambient, micro store is like filling those types of gaps faster than Amazon, more convenient. And then it also can become an amenity, especially if you're in like a condo or office environment. Another thing is like bakery items, for example, like a lot of pastries and things of that nature, like you don't want them to be refrigerated, you want them to be ambient. So if you can put that into a high volume environment, the integrity of the product's just going to shine through better than being refrigerated.
Yeah, Nathan's kind of talking about this in the context of maybe a community, a neighborhood. Maybe you have one of these in the community center. The even more obvious case is, I'm a student in the dorms and I need something really quick for my cough, or I need deodorant for my date that's coming up, but I don't have a car to go to Target or Walmart or something like that, and it's just right there. So that's the ambient. I mean, frozen, you probably can guess them. It's just, yeah, it's the ice cream and it's the, frozen meals that maybe you just want something on the go that you can eat later that's not gonna, go bad in the car ride, for example. So those frozen meals and that ice cream is really big on university campuses as well as just, industrial environments where people just eat a meal on the way home. Something that, I see coming on our website a lot is ranchers and meat processors. They come to us and say, hey, we'd like a frozen unit because we sell really high quality meat and we want to, have some direct to consumer outlet, while obviously not having to open up a storefront. And, selling it frozen is the best way to go because, we want it to have a shelf life. And so, the application is there for high quality meats as well. And we've been having conversations within the past few years about that.
It's interesting. It seems like you and I have been talking about how like what we're seeing and how American retail is like shifting really fast. And I think it's interesting how many businesses these days are incredibly successful, going direct to customer. And it's amazing when you can do that and you have an online, store and especially when you don't have to have like the overhead of like a brick and mortar retail location. But also like shipping like that is super expensive and it's not good for the planet at all when you look at all the packaging. So it's really cool seeing things like your example of the rancher where they're able to kind of leapfrog all those things and get, full retail price versus, selling wholesale. So that's a perfect example that you gave of like our clients, our operators are teaching us kind of where the market's heading.
Yeah. So that's smart freezer, smart pantry. I mean, you guys all know about smart fridge. It's the fresh items, right? It's the salad, sushi, wraps, microwavable meals, some other kind of opportunities that have opened up now that we're talking about a full service kind of mini convenience stores. You think about what if it's a place just to get produce, right? Produce section at a grocery store, except now it's in the lobby of your condo or your office building. Or, I can think of in a hospital setting where maybe a florist is running one of those fridges and you're at the hospital, you're visiting a loved one and you want to, send them some flowers or give them some flowers and it's just right there in the lobby of that hospital. So, with this kind of new generation of micromarket that has the variety of a micromarket, but can be secure in a public facing setting, these are the opportunities that Nathan and I have seen, and we're excited to see what operators do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the bottom line for any of these kind of retail applications that we're talking about is it costs you dollars a day to operate a smart fridge and sell 24/7 or, a pantry or a freezer and you're not having to hire, an employee for 20 bucks an hour to sell only 8 hours. So in the right environment, like the florist scenario, it could be pretty awesome, especially if you're in a hospital that has like high foot traffic or a lot of beds. It's just an interesting time. And for us, it's incredibly exciting to be bringing the provision suite to market right now because we've been hearing this for years from our customers about all these different applications that we mentioned and the frequency just gets more and more. So it's easy to see that this is not just a fleeting trend. Like this is where things are headed. One of the other things that I think that's really cool, and I'll touch on this with the provision suite. So with our original smart fridge when we came to the US, the idea was how do we make as much shelf space as humanly possible, but still be able to make it fit through like a standard doorway. And that's always been kind of our MO because then it makes it more universally applicable, right? And obviously that translated over into, the freezer and because they're all, as you saw in the image earlier, they're all identically sized. So you're getting like six big shelves to like sell whatever the products are that are best for that community. Um, but the other piece is like it's modular, and we didn't really touch on that earlier when we talked about the concept of Amazon Go checkout or when you go into a micro market, in a private spaces, retail is constantly evolving and changing. Construction, switching locations, foot traffic for whatever reason. So I think the other piece that's really cool about the provision suite concept is you're getting the most shelf space possible, but at the same time, maybe you realize, if you bought a provision suite 6 months later, oh, I really want to move the ambient over here because we just opened up a new cafe and we want to be able to sell their pastries 24 hours a day. Or maybe I want to add on a new smart fridge to my little collection of micro stores because we just can't keep the fridge stocked enough. So I think that's another beauty, is it kind of mitigates the risk of traditional retail, and even some of those other concepts that we talked about. So yeah, it's just a really exciting time as we're bringing this line to life, and we already have lots of customers out there with visions of deployment. And Isaac and I are excited to share the collateral of all these different applications, and you can definitely expect to see in future, podcasts and blogs where we're gonna, share our learnings with our community.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We typically try to keep these podcasts very informative and consultative and try not to talk about our product too much. In this case, we did focus on our product, but it's really a reflection of where the market is going. American retail is heading in this kind of convenience 24/7 direction, and we felt that our product fulfills this need, not only from kind of a smaller footprint, but also from a food safety, shelf space, and now variety standpoint, with that highest level of theft prevention as well. So if you're interested in kind of just talking about the paradigm shift in American retail, maybe talking about some opportunities that you see for your business, feel free to reach out at hello@launchfoodspot.com, and we're happy to talk. We do this every day. So again, thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe and comment with any questions or suggestions that you have on topics, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the show this week. If you're interested in learning more about smart vending platforms, you can visit us at launchfoodspot.com. I'm Nathan Downs, and you've been listening to the Fresh Vending Podcast.